So, folks, there's this guy called Donald Trump. You might have heard of him. I don't know. He's running for president of the United States. It'll never happen. Never amount to a thing. But, he's been going off the rails lately in a not cute way. Here he is the other night talking at the Detroit Economic Club. And,
I don't think anything that we're talking about today is high on her list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands. I don't think anything that we're talking.
Bro, you're talking to the people who live in Detroit. And you're saying, oh yeah, everyone's gonna be like Detroit, folks. It's gonna be like Detroit everywhere. You're talking to people who live there. Like, I'm not he's like so far gone. Like, guys, I want you to watch this, okay? I want you to watch this. This is almost an 8-minute long clip from the Detroit Economic Club appearance that he did, okay? And he is asked in this clip about how he parents his children, how he parented his children. And it is an 8-minute long clip. And I want you guys to try and figure out how much of this clip he actually dedicates to talking about his parenting style. Let's find out.
You know, we've known each other for a while, and I know your children and I have been just enormously impressed with their values, their lifestyles, and you did a great job raising them. How did you do that? Everybody here loves their kids, and you mentioned about creating an environment where we can pass our businesses down to our children, basically tax-free or something close to that. What did you do with your children to make them so responsible and so involved in everything that you do?
Okay, this is such a softball question. This is such a softball question right off the bat because he's just basically asking him, you're such a good father. 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 What on earth do you do to be such a good father? I mean, your kids are around you all the time and you're running your family business because you're such a good father, clearly. Let's see how he answers.
Well, I'm fortunate in that, you know, they're smart children. Many of you have smart, and some will have some that aren't so smart, and you have to understand that happens too, and that's all, and you're going to love them just as much. But, you know, I have smart children, and they've been good academically, et cetera, et cetera. But very importantly, I would always tell them, no drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. No drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. And they'd go out, and Ivanka would say, Dad, stop telling me that. I said, I'm going to tell it to you every time I see you. I'm going to drive you wild with this. You're going to know.
Man, Donald Trump being the local DARE officer is pretty great.
No drugs, no alcohol. And I would say that. And I hope that, because who knows, right? But they don't have...
I was a good dad because I told them not to do drugs. Don't do drugs, kids.
They don't have any of those problems. I mean, I've seen friends, very smart people, they have smart kids, but their kids get hooked on drugs or they get hooked on alcohol. Alcohol is, in many ways, like they tell me, I don't know. I never had a glass of alcohol. I had a brother who was a wonderful guy, but he had an alcohol problem. And he sort of do the same. He said, don't ever drink alcohol. He was, and he smoked, and you know, I put cigarettes in that same category, almost that same category, but they're certainly not good for you. But I would always tell my kids, because I've seen parents that had brilliant children, went to the best schools, they were great, but they got hooked on drugs or alcohol, and they never made it. They couldn't compete, basically. You know, they never made it, and many of them are dead. Many of them die. They die with this fentanyl that's coming in. I'm going to get that problem. I had that problem almost solved with President Xi, by the way. And I said, you have to impose the maximum penalty, or we're not going to, I would always talk about trade. We have the power of trade. And I said, well, we're just not going to get along on trade. Hence, I could do things like we talked about. I don't want to go into it, but we can do things. And he and I had
parenting, smoking, drugs, fentanyl, President Xi.
Had a handshake on.
It all makes so much sense,
He was
folks.
going to impose the maximum penalty on people that run companies that sell us through Mexico. Almost all of it comes through Mexico. And the maximum penalty is the death penalty. And he was going to impose that. And then we had...
Why would you think that's good, though? Oh, yeah, I almost strong-armed the leader of China to making it a death penalty to make drugs. But then the woke liberals, they won. They won, folks.
Had the transfer power, and this guy came in and he didn't know what to do with anything. And so that went down the tubes. But one of the first things I'm going to do is talk to him about that, because they were going to give the death penalty to anybody sending fentanyl into this country. And that would have really solved...
Dude, we are so cooked. The fact that that got applause. Like, guys, you realize he really wants to kill anyone who does drugs, right? You realize that's like what Donald Trump wants to do? Like, if he could, he would absolutely follow in the path of Duterte and, like, execute all drug dealers. Like, he wants that to be him. He wants that. He thinks it's tough. He thinks it will work. He just wants to kill criminals.
Solved a lot of the problem. And the other thing I say, and it's not nice to settle like saying it, but, I've seen a lot of countries. I deal with all of them, and I know that all of them. And the only ones that don't have a drug problem are the ones that have the death penalty. We can set up all of our blue ribbon committees. Everybody...
He's got, he might not do drugs, but he sure got a boner for the death penalty. Also, keep in mind, he was originally asked about what makes him such a good parent, and now he's talking about the death penalty.
Calls me, you would call me, my friends call me, could I be on that blue ribbon committee? And then have a blue ribbon committee on drugs and how to stop, these drug lords who are very smart people, very, very vicious, very smart. And we'll have these people from New York, some dilettantes, and they didn't want to talk about it. They just want to be a part of, whatever it is. The only ones that stop drugs, the only ones, are the ones that have the death penalty. And you have to remember...
Is this actually still related to his parenting style? Did he threaten his children with the death penalty?
It sounds horrible, but what's more horrible is what they do to our country, because on average, he or she, male or female, drug dealer, will kill 500 people.
What?
And that doesn't include the families that are devastated. I know families that lost a son or lost a daughter. They've never been the same. I mean, they're like different people.
Citation, my crack pipe.
You talk to them, and they're just, years later, I say, has it gotten better? No, it's gotten worse, they tell me. And there's nothing worse than that, and nothing worse than that. And it's because of drugs. It's because if maybe it's too much for the American people to go with. But I will say this, the only countries that solve their drug problem, China, I went to President Xi, I said, so, first time I met him, I said, do you have a drug problem? No. 1.4 billion people. And why don't you have a drug problem? He says, death penalty, quick trial. What's a quick trial? The dealer is immediately put on trial. They don't have 9 years of legal and then another 9.
So what he's describing here is just the cops being the cops from Judge Dredd, where they just issue your sentence on the spot and then kill you.
9 years of appeals, 22 years later, and then they're released. No, this is, they don't play games, and, it's tough.
also, he's indirectly referencing the Central Park Five, who he personally called for their execution when they were children, and continues to think that they should be executed to this day, despite them being exonerated by DNA evidence.
Tough deal. But he said, quick trial. I said, what is quick trial? Immediate trial. And you know what the drug dealers do? They say, hey, let's get the hell out of here fast. They don't play games. They don't play games. They even send the bullet to the family, and they make them pay for the bullet. They make them pay for the bullet. It's vicious, but they have no drug problem. With 1.4, they had a drug problem for centuries, you know, with the poppy fields, with all the things.
They make the family pay for the bullet? Jesus Christ, dude.
They realized countries were taking them over that were much smaller, they were being decimated because everybody they had a...
He was asked about how he's such a good parent. He was asked the biggest softball question of all time. And he's rambling about how great it is to execute drug dealers in a foreign country.
Tremendous drug problem. But it stopped years ago, and it was the death penalty. And I can tell you, we could set up all the committees, blue ribbon, and every headed...
It would be actually really fascinating, Dragonfly, if he went into an in-depth discussion of the opium wars. I wouldn't even be mad.
By so-and-so, a society person from Madison Avenue. But I will tell you that it's a waste of time. The only thing that's going to stop, and we got it down. I got it down 19%. That's great, but but it's not like I got it down, and we worked like hell. We had so much security in the border. We had the German Shepherd.
Like this guy, and Donald Trump here seems to be talking to a room full of pretty sympathetic people. The kind of people who clap at like the idea of drug dealers being executed summarily by an authoritarian government. But like, do they? I often wonder, like, do conservatives, when they watch this, are they like, this guy was just asked about how he's such a good parent and is now talking about executing drug dealers? Like, does this not worry you? Like, is this guy on stage here not just thinking to himself, this guy's completely lost it? He's lost the plot. Huh.
There's a certain dog, a certain type of German Shepherd. So they have millions of dollars worth of machinery, and they have a dog. And it's a certain German Shepherd. Some of you know what it is. It has a sense of smell that's so incredible that the machine is nothing by comparison. Nothing. And it's incredible to see. Incredible. But we watched it very closely on the border. We had a lot of dogs that did this incredibly well. And we had a lot of very expensive machinery that did it good. Not great, but they did it good. Not nearly as good, believe it or not. And we had it down about 19%. And that was it. It was very tough. With the death penalty, you would eradicate drugs in this country. But, and I talk about it a lot. I say that because maybe people have to get used to it because it sounds harsh. But when you think of it, if they do kill on average 500 people, everybody in this room knows a lot of people that they lost a child or sometimes a father or mother, but they've lost a child to fentanyl. And that wouldn't have happened if we had the death penalty. But
Dude, like, this is crazy. Like, if you're a conservative out there and you just watched this, how do you walk away from this going, yep, that's my guy, and not, like how do you do that? What happens in your brain? He was just asked about what makes him such a good dad, and he went from that to talking about how great the death penalty is. That's crazy. If you were asked what makes you such a good parent, and then you rambled for 8 minutes all the way to talking about how much you love the death penalty, every single person you know would think that you had completely lost your rock. You're completely lost. You're gone. You need to be like committed. No, Alan Smith, it's not even that he's an idiot. This is a long ways away from just like someone being kind of a dummy. Okay, this is something else.
The country's going to have to tell us that they're ready for it because, you know, it's a pretty big step.
You mentioned the Abraham.
God. You know, no reaction from the interviewer either. No, like, what about your parenting style? God. Also, Mithril Mist. I was not repeating the video, in fact. That was actually just him going in circles, spiraling towards talking about how much he wants to put people to death. Also, not at all worrying that drugs would then become a justification for summary execution. Definitely wouldn't be easily abused or wielded against, say, political opponents or undesirables. Real Russian government shit. Yeah, it's not like police already. It's not like police already are not planting drugs on people. That would just happen, and the consequences would be 10,000 times more dire. God. Like we're in a clown world here. And not only are we in a clown world, guys, I played a clip the other night of Donald Trump bringing up bad genes in our country, bad genetics in America, making it more criminal, worse, etc. He's been slipping a lot more of that eugenics rhetoric into his recent appearances. Okay? And one thing you need to know about eugenics rhetoric is that it is directly related to fascist ideology. Like it is the two go hand in hand. The idea of a literal Übermensch. In the case of the Nazis, it was the Aryan race, you know, but like Donald Trump has his own idea of who the superior race is, and it might not entirely be Aryan, but you know, as long as it's white, it's all right. And well, here's another clip to kind of show you what I mean.
They obviously work really, really hard. How'd you teach work ethic?
They have to like what they do. If they don't like what they do, they do. My kids like what they do. And I would say genetically, I'm a believer in genetics. You know, I like it. I'm good at doing certain things. And, you know, racehorses, like two slow racehorses don't produce a Kentucky Derby winner, right? You know, that's not the way it is.
They obviously...
Like not even a subtle look at genetics. Look at eugenics. That is just eugenics. He literally described the fundamental argument that eugenics proponents use when they argue why like human breeding should be controlled. When they argue against why homosexuality needs to be purged from society, why trans people or the infertile need to be removed from society. This is like the doorway to every horrific social policy you can imagine. And Donald Trump is talking openly about how he wants to embrace it. We're in incredibly scary times. Also, here's an interesting video clip. Okay, this came out earlier today, and it is an undercover video of Roger Stone, one of Donald Trump's closest allies, talking about how 1 million voters are being purged from the rolls in Florida, and that he also is taking aim at North Carolina, Nevada, and Wisconsin. So again, I need to really, really emphasize here, please check your voter registration if you haven't. And in fact, check it again. And consider early voting or mail-in voting, because we're really at that point where you need to be on the ball with this. Because unfortunately, there are bad actors out there who will use any and every means at their disposal to try and get you taken off of the voter rolls. Okay?
Okay, so I've heard you talk many times. We even danced in Flagrant County. Yeah, but
You could really cut her up.
so did you. So my question is, what are we going to do to prevent them from stealing this election in Florida or anywhere?
There's more going on than you think. That's the good news. Yes, it is important. It is important to turn out, register, identify, and turn out as many voters as possible. So those who say make it too big to rig, to beat the steal, those are all legitimate things, and that does need to be done. But there's more that needs to be done. We need, for example, to clean our voting lists. The California Republican Assembly, which is an independent organization that I support, you know those great folks, they have done an excellent job of using a program to go through all 15 million Florida voters, and they have found over 1 million undeliverable addresses. Now they're going one by one to the county boards of elections to have those people removed. Now some counties are refusing.
Yeah, what he's describing there are, when he's talking about like undeliverable addresses, it's talking about people who have either moved in the community or who are unhoused in the communities, or are, for whatever other reason, like in a place that is difficult to reach, or hard to reach, or impossible to reach. So like there are plenty of people where people are just going, no, we're gonna challenge your position on the voter registration rolls, because they can just do that to anyone. And unfortunately, there are very few safeguards to actually preserve your place on the registration rolls, so you have to be proactive and make sure you are remaining up to date with your voter registration.
And those counties will find themselves in court shortly. But out of 67 counties, I believe, 61 have cooperated. You can guess which ones are the ones that won't cooperate. The big counties run by Democrats. That same program is going on in North Carolina. The same program is being done in Nevada. That same program is being done in Wisconsin. So there is a massive effort to clean the voter.
And keep in mind, it's not just Florida. And honestly, they're probably not just going to stop with the states he just listed off the cuff in this video. But it does indicate that there is a concerted effort to get as many people off the voter rolls in swing states as possible.
Voter rolls, even though in many cases we will have to go to court to get it done. We also need to be prepared to have chain of custody of mail-in ballots where they're legal. They can't pop up out of nowhere. They can't disappear. So that has to be done. That's being worked on very aggressively, particularly in the swing states and in the 60 key counties across the country that will determine this election. The hardest part is to ensure that there is no cyber manipulation of voter machines or of tabulations. They told us again and again and again that these machines are not connected to the internet, but now we have undisputable proof that Carrie Lake.
They literally didn't tell you that. Like, the machines can be connected to the internet, they're just not connected to the internet while they're doing their jobs.
Carrie Lake filed with the U.S. Supreme Court that they are. So we're not there yet, but these issues are being worked on very aggressively. I think we're going to be in much better.
Also, that's my understanding. and that's probably not true of all voting machines.
Shape than we were. I spoke earlier, because it aggravates me, the idea that your Republican attorneys would have the number of the duty judge in case there's need to file an emergency motion based on actions that indicate anomalies or improper conduct of the count.
What he's describing here is basically he's basically laying the groundwork here of interfering on election day with the count to try and delay it as much as possible and sow chaos.
And that gets twisted by the media as, oh, the judges are lined up to steal this election. No, that's not even remotely what I said. Yes.
Alan Smith. Roger Stone is one of the hatchet men of Washington D.C. He's infamous. His job is basically to go in there and like ruin people's reputations, destroy their political careers, do the skullduggery of sinking other people's political campaigns on behalf of his employer. Like that's what he does. He is an ardent supporter of Richard Nixon. He has a Nixon tramp stamp on his back. He is one of the truly heinous members of the Washington D.C. circuit. Wait, really? Oh yeah, really, Story the Bard. He goes way back in politics. He's been around for like 50 years doing this kind of stuff. Yeah, he's like the guy you bring in to rat fuck your opponents. Like that's why he's at this Night with Roger Stone event, explaining in detail how they plan to try and sow discord on election day. Because he's the guy who comes up with those plans. Yeah, he went to jail, but Trump pardoned him. Like he's been on the front lines for Donald Trump for like the last 8 years. And he's literally been rewarded for his behavior by getting a pardon. Is he that old? He's that old. Would you say that Roger Stone is the Grima Wormtongue of the GOP? No, because Grima Wormtongue at least felt regret about his actions. Roger Stone delights in his vileness. Like there's like, like Grima Wormtongue eventually turned on Saruman, and like Roger Stone ain't gonna do that. So that brings us to this particular interview, and we're gonna see if we get clapped for this or not. I don't know if we will. But here is Donald Trump on the Flagrant podcast with Andrew Scholes and Akash Singh. So let's check this out. I know nothing about this guy other than he's some kind of comedian.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Flagrant. And today, this is the first time that we've been able to say this. We are sitting down with Mr. President. Woo. Mr. President, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, just real quick.
Mr. President. Woo. Mr. President, thank you.
This is too many people. This is too many people on a podcast. Most of the people here are just going to be silent the entire time. Like, this doesn't look like a good vibe.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
this is awesome. We have a bunch of questions. We're very, very grateful for your time.
Okay.
I just became a dad. My
Oh.
buddy over there just became a dad, Mark.
Yep.
That's
and
good.
okay, so here's first question.
Great.
You have
Do you guys know these guys? I've never seen them in my life.
these children that are seemingly well-adjusted, successful, and I think most importantly, they appear to like you.
Yeah.
Okay,
They better.
I grew up in the I grew up in the city, and there's a lot of people who had like very wealthy parents, and like the kids kind of resent them. They're almost like waiting for them to like die, and they end up in like rehabs and
Doing
those
drugs,
other
God
stuff.
knows what, yeah.
How do you raise them in the public?
Why has he been getting so many questions about his kids lately? Like it's almost like every podcast that he's gone on. Like, how did you raise such wonderful children? And it's like he didn't. Like, do you think he spent time with his children? No, he didn't. He had people to do that. He hired people to do it. Or alternatively, he was just bad at it.
Where they still
Yeah.
become ambitious and successful.
So I do have good kids and 5 really wonderful children, and different, very different. Yeah, they are so different. But one thing that was in common that I always used to say when I was with them, or when they were leaving a room, I would drive them crazy. No drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. I would say that.
Did you say that to Don Jr.?
Yeah, Don's a pretty.
I wonder if he's gonna take he's answering the question exactly the same as he did in Detroit. Is he just gonna say the exact same thing? Is he gonna start rambling about the death penalty? Because I'm actually morbidly curious to know if that was kind of pre-planned.
A little wild. He's a wild. He can be a little tough.
He told me a funny story.
Go ahead.
Okay. I talked to a bunch of people. I was trying to, prepare for this
Right,
interview.
right.
He told me a funny story. And he said to me, he goes, once he asked if he could have a couple of his friends over for New Year's. Was it New Year? No, it was July 4th.
Right.
On top of Trump Tower.
Right.
And you said
friends.
yes. He's like, I want 5 friends. You're like, okay, I'm out of town. Go for it. He brings 200 people over to Trump Tower. Okay?
That's right.
Okay. He says that you weren't supposed to be there. You end up showing up. You hear some noise upstairs. You come up. You go, what the fuck is everybody doing here? Get the hell out of my house. He said he cleaned for the next 36 hours. And he said, to this day, you have never brought up that it even happened. And he said, I'm starting to believe it might not have happened. So
He said that's
can,
all
you
it
give,
happened.
can you give him closure?
No, it happened. No, I can never give closure. You can never forget.
That's actually really weird though. Things that never happened for 1,000. Honestly, I don't actually doubt that story, but that's again, if you're asked a parenting question, like, you have really good kids. How'd you raise such good kids? And then I heard a funny story about this time your son lied to you and brought 200 people to your house. And then you showed up and then he didn't get in trouble and you never talked about it ever again. Ha 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 ha. That's not really an endearing story. That's just that's kind of a super weird story. 36 hours of cleaning. I don't believe that Don Jr. did 36 hours of cleaning. I believe that he helped clean up, probably because he thought he was going to be in trouble. But also, they were rich enough to have people for that. So
A lot of people like to forget things. You can't know. He's a good guy. And, he's taken a lot because he was always a good student. He went to the Wharton School of Finance, which is great, and he did well. But he went into the world of politics not because he wanted to, but because I was there, and I sort of automatically you drag the family in. Mm-hmm. And this guy, what he had to go through with Russia. He goes, Dad, they're asking me questions about Russia. I don't know anything about Russia. What's going on? and all of a sudden he's in front of grand juries, he's in front of Congress.
Yeah.
It was a hoax. It was a total hoax.
Yeah.
This was a made-up hoax by crazy Nancy Pelosi and these, the maniacs.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton, who's totally nuts.
Yeah.
And this went on for 2 years.
There's something so off-putting about these people just like giggling and cackling at his statements. Like there's some the vibe of this is bad, and I feel like it's getting worse as it goes.
And it always said, Dad, I know nothing about this stuff. And you go before the grand jury, and
Are they conservatives? I mean,
Comey,
they
who's
seem
the worst,
like it.
just a bad guy. But he went through a lot, and it actually made him tougher.
Well, yeah, Alan Smith. People went to prison for lying about the Russian collusion. Like, it wasn't a conspiracy like theory. It wasn't like a hoax. It's a thing that happened and that they lied about in court under oath to prevent investigators from finding out about. So
I don't know if that's good or bad, but he's a tough cookie, that one.
Yeah.
And it made, in his case, it made him tougher. Ivanka did a great job. She didn't want anything. All she wanted to do was get people jobs. I would have made her the ambassador to the UN. I wanted to do that. I think she would have been incredible, the whole aura. She would have been great, but she didn't want that. She didn't. And that,
oh man, he's dropping Gen Alpha slang. Aura.
that would have been a very glamorous position.
Yeah.
She would have been great there. All she did is go to see companies and hire people. She wanted, and she hired, I think it was like 10 million people, some incredible amount of people. She'd go to Walmart, she'd go to Exxon, she'd go to these big companies and see if she could get groups of people hired.
Yeah.
And she loved doing it. It was great. And there was no glamour, there was no anything, but she got people jobs. That made her
So
happy.
how do you instill the ambition in the kids? I think a lot of kids that grow up with wealth, they kind of are lazy and they feel like they have no direction in life. And a lot of times they turn to like drugs and other shit. How do you instill the ambition?
Well, I've seen a lot of wealthy families where the kids are mostly don't work out too well. Some don't turn out to be bad kids, but they end up hating the father, or the father maybe wanted them in business. I mean, I have one father that's very competitive with his son. He's if the son were more successful than him,
He would hate it.
he would be unhappy. I said, "Are
you talking about your dad?
you crazy? It's supposed to be the other way around."
That's awesome.
My father was so proud of me. He was a successful guy. But my father wanted me to be more successful. I mean, he was so proud of all the things. I wish he could have seen what happened. Because
I wish he could have seen what happened, because I ran all of his businesses into the ground.
we did things. But he was, he's just a proud father.
What do you think?
And I think most fathers are that way. I hope that. But I've known many fathers that are very successful that didn't want that broke up over their son's success. If, in the few cases where the son was more successful, which was very seldom, actually. It's very seldom. You take people like in sports, because in sports you see it, because it's a microcosm of life, but it's quicker.
Right.
And you'll take like the greatest golfers, and they'll have a son, and he'll be really good as a young, but they never supersede, almost, I can't think of any, they never supersede the father in terms of success. And in sports generally, baseball, you can go to a lot of different sports. And it really is a sort of a microcosm of life. But
Is he going towards eugenics again?
life, it takes a lot longer to find out the end
Come to
result.
fruition.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we said you're a great father up top. First thing you say is, I've got great kids. You didn't take credit. And then your entire answer, and I thought this was really cool, your entire answer is about how great your kids are. That was a very cool thing.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
very
This entire thing just gonna be like giving him the longest blowjob you've ever seen in your life? Like, is that what this is?
very nice. I think I like this interview. I think
That's a genuine.
I think he's right.
It was-
And by the way, congratulations. I hear your show is like is crazy monster success.
We're doing pretty
Congratulations.
good. We're very we're interviewing presidents.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're
No,
here.
it's really good. And right in the middle of a campaign with only
Like, I cover politics all the time, but like, I've never heard of this show, and it has 1.7 million subscribers.
29 days to go.
Yeah.
And you're taking up time. Don't you feel that?
Just to talk about your family.
Yeah, we're just complimenting
you know what it is? It's a different world out there. You guys and some others.
Yeah.
You know, we had the standard television stuff for many years, and that's still, I think it's underrated now. I think it's still very important. But,
Sure.
But there's a whole new thing. Elon interviewed me on something.
Yeah.
And I think they said 275 million hits or listeners.
That's a lot of people.
That was a record.
That's a nation. Yeah.
But it's a whole new, different way of
Can I ask you a question
getting the word out, right?
about
You know, I do like Obama with no filter.
Or a car seat. Or diapers. I remember buying diapers. I remember the first time I went in the store, right after Malia was born. I was like, what? That's how much diapers cost? I remember changing diapers. You think Donald Trump ever changed a diaper? Yeah. I almost said that, but I decided I shouldn't say it. If or a car.
Amazing stuff.
Elon specifically, is he your favorite African American?
He's a piece of work, I'll tell you. You know, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's obviously a brilliant guy.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw the rocket engines come back, I said, what is that? Like a couple of years ago, you've never seen rockets go up and then they crash into the water.
Yeah.
And I see the engines are coming back and they're landing.
It's unbelievable.
They're landing and they land on a raft in the middle of the ocean someplace with a little dot and they land right on the top of the spot.
And my wife can't parallel park.
I know, most people can't. But no, he's great. But he's got a great heart. He was with me, as you know, on the other night.
Yeah.
And we were honoring a man who got killed at a rally, Corey, firefighter, great guy. And it was a beautiful evening. But Elon went out and he loved the crowd. He loves the country.
We were honoring a brave firefighter who died in the line of fire as someone was trying to assassinate me. But Elon came out and he just loved the crowd, folks.
Yeah. And he's picked a side. A lot of people don't want to pick a side. I have a lot of people that are big supporters of me.
Yeah.
But they won't go all out. You know, they can't.
They're scared.
Quite.
There's a cost.
Yeah, there's a cost.
Yeah.
There is a cost, but there's also a liability. I mean, you know, some people, I respect it a lot when this guy was up there doing jumping jacks. You got to vote for Trump. You got to vote
He
for
was jumping high.
Yeah.
He was jumping high.
He looked
You know
quite
what?
African.
When he jumped, he's in good shape.
I don't know how much I can handle of this. I gotta be honest with you folks. I don't know how much more of this I can take.
Remind me again why we are watching Donald Trump being interviewed by Freddie Mercury at home?
Because unfortunately we have to pay attention to what he does and where he's at in the current campaign cycle, which includes this appearance on this podcast. And I cannot guarantee that we will watch all of it, but we are going to watch more of it. So that's where we're at. Also, thank you for the $5 dono. I appreciate it. Let's keep going.
I'm looking at his waist. I'm saying, wait a minute, does he work out or something? But he.
Are you really looking at Elon Musk thinking that? Are you really looking at him?
So many different great things. Where is he? Come on up here, Elon. He created the first major American car company in generations, and his rocket company
Elon's
is the
giving
only
Trump a lot
reason
of
we
money.
can now send American astronauts into space. Come here.
What are you talking about? We had NASA. We had NASA for like 60 goddamn years. We could send American astronauts into space for a goddamn half century. What are you talking about? I'm so mad.
Take over, Elon. Just take over.
Hi, everyone.
Great things. Where is he? Come on up here, Elon. He created the first major American car company in generations, and his rocket company is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space. Come here. Take over, Elon. Just take over.
Can we get it?
Space.
There's no Riz here.
Really, and he had a great time. And you know, he's not out that much. He's probably maybe a little. Would you say he's a little reclusive, possibly?
Yeah. He's also busy.
Look, if you guys want different content, you have to give me subs and donuts, okay? Otherwise, we go until I'm done.
He's very busy and maybe a little reclusive. Yeah. But he had the greatest time. He was saying, look at these people. We had 100,000, more than 100,000 people.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
It was a record. It was, nobody's ever seen. And it was really, it was a celebration of a life. And it was really a MAGA deal.
Yeah.
And he was a big MAGA person. His family was there. And two other people that were very badly hurt were also celebrated. They were very badly hurt. They weren't actually expected to live.
Yeah.
And they lived. And they had incredible doctors. Some of those country doctors are better than the big doctors that we spend a lot of money on, and they don't do as good. I will tell you right now. I don't want to knock anybody, but those country doctors saved two people, because I was told that three would... No, think of that. Three would be in trouble, and three were going to... Now, Corey immediately, but the other two were so bad that they thought they wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
And those country doctors, they pulled them together. They did a great job.
Okay, so you're going back into this place where, you know, there was this...
There's something, like, so sycophantic about this. Like, the hyena laughs at, like, any semblance of a joke that he kind of makes. Like, it's the kind of laughter you get from yes men who are trying to flatter you.
Assassination attempt. They hit you. Headshot.
Yeah.
You survive.
Yeah. It was not a good feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you scared?
Better, by the way.
No, I'm not scared. You know, I have an attitude. It's interesting. It's sort of, it is what it is. Does that make any sense to you guys? You know, you do what you have to do. I felt it was important to go back. A lot of people, I guess, agreed with me, because it was over 100. I think they said 108,000 people in the end. That's a lot of people.
Super Bowl.
And I had no guitar. You know, if you have a guitar...
Yeah, War Gamer Lena, literally everyone who's lived through hard geopolitical times thinks it's the end times. It happens, like, every 5 years. Like, let's be clear, Donald Trump might act like the Antichrist. He's not the Antichrist. Like, we are not in Revelations. That's not happening. You know who had a much stronger case for living through the end times? People living through World War fucking II or World War fucking I. Those were much better candidates for the end times. And you know what? We're still here. We're still trucking along.
It's easy. When you don't have a guitar...
I thought you said Qatar.
Yeah. I have guitar. I do have that. They like me very much. But
the Black Death would have been a good candidate as well. A third of Europe dying.
But I don't have a guitar.
Yeah, you have the guitar. Yes.
So anyway, but that was it was amazing. I mean, no, I like it when somebody like Elon, who has a lot to lose, is willing to do what...
I love Elon. He gives me lots of money. So I love him. I love him so much.
That's right.
Yeah.
Some people know it's right to do, and I'm not just talking about endorsements and all, but they don't want to do things because they're...
They don't want it to cost them opportunities.
The word is
political.
they want to be politically correct, and actually they're doing a bad thing. I think for themselves and for a lot of people they may represent.
Okay, opening line when you walk out there.
Right.
I mean,
I was wondering what you were going to say, and as a comedian, you can seize the moment.
Yeah.
And
he was a hell of a comedian, by the way.
I
Is
appreciate
he
that.
What the
though?
word is.
Is he though?
So I hear you go, I see the video and you go up there and you go, as I was saying.
Right.
Crowd goes fucking berserk or what?
They went, I would say, crazy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't
Biggest
sure.
pop you've experienced?
Yeah, I'll tell you how, you have this as a comedian or even not as a comedian, just when you make a speech or you make some very serious statement.
Yeah.
So we're at a very serious and somber thing
Event,
because
yeah.
we're celebrating a life that is no longer with us. And I wasn't sure whether or not that thing, I had it in my mind for a long time. Once I said I'm going back, which I wanted to go back immediately, I wanted to actually finish my speech, okay? When I got up, I said, let me finish my speech. But I'm surrounded by like 8 very large, strong men and a very wonderful woman. You saw that.
Yeah.
But I'm surrounded by guys. They said, sir, no way, go. And I have blood pouring down, but I really wanted to finish my speech. I said, I think I had like 50,000. I had a lot of people there.
Yeah, I think he's lying. I think he's lying a lot right now. Again, a lot of the behind the scenes reporting that we've had in the aftermath of this is that he was like stuck alone in a room watching the assassination coverage over and over and over again.
And when I went down, it was sort of like embarrassed. I said, I went down in front of all these people. That was my first thing. I don't want to be embarrassed.
You were embarrassed that you went down after being shot?
Well, you weren't exactly sure what the hell was happening at first,
But also, you came back up with the fist raise. That's one of the hardest pictures.
But I was also,
Did you hear them say he's down, or were you just
so when I got hit, I assume that, it's funny.
Is it?
When I was down there, it is sort of strange, I guess. Now it's a little bit, we can smile a little bit, but not really, because the 3 guys, 1 killed, two very badly. But when I went down, I had total realization. It wasn't a surreal. They talked about a surreal. That could be a surreal experience, like when something happens, some traumatic thing happens. People they lose focus. They have no idea where they are. I've heard many.
But I get sharp as a hawk. I knew where I was the entire time.
People where that happens.
Okay, I'm gonna skip this because I do not care.
Let's get back to the show.
My son Don told me, actually, he's a great shooter. So is Eric. They're great shooters. They're like better than scratch, okay, if you use it. And they say it's amazing because it was 130 yards. To me, that sounds like far away, but it's not. For shooting, it's not. He said that would be like sinking a 1-foot putt for just a decent shooter.
Wow.
And I don't know if you guys are shooters, but they said if you're a shooter, it's almost impossible to miss. It's that close. It's really considered that close. I mean, 300, 400, 500 yards is very doable, but this is supposed to be very close. And so he said,
my brakes failed the other day. I got a crash course on Newton's first law. My brakes failed the other day. I got a crash course on Newton's first law.
Well, thank you for the 2 gifted subs, John Thomas. I appreciate it. We're getting closer with every single sub or dono. I really, really appreciate that. I hope that was a joke, though. I hope you were just making a joke with the crash course and not, like, actually getting a crash course as in you crashed. Media breakdown. I'm on a short break and your car needs new brakes. And the glasses are adorable. Thanks for being so cool. Thank you so much, Media Breakdown. I appreciate the $5 super chat over on YouTube. And folks, we're making strides, okay? And how about this? If we hit, we're currently at 206. If we hit 225, 19 more subs, we'll take a break and watch some analog horror, okay? We'll do that. I know you guys like it. We'll do that. I will do that for you guys. Hey, Paladin, what's going on? We're trying to see if there's anything interesting in this godforsaken cranium that's on screen at the moment.
I think Don became more religious, actually. You want to know the truth. It had a big impact. He said it's impossible. The doctor, actually, when I got to the hospital, they were fantastic. So, first of all, I have great respect for the Secret Service. And the guys that were with me, I went down and I did a good job going down because those bullets were winging over my head. If I would have been up for another couple of seconds, I also wouldn't have been here. But I didn't consider that as lucky as turning to the right at that one. It was like 1/16 of a second. Was the only time that I was safe, essentially.
Right.
If I would have gone a little further, I would have been hit. If I would have gone not as far, I would have been hit. I mean, I had like this little tiny moment. And the amazing thing is the sign is always on my left, and it's always at the end. And I only use it 20% of the time, maybe even less than that.
And this
was
time
a
it's on the
chart.
right.
This was a chart on immigration because I have the record. I did a great job in immigration. They are not doing too well right now.
Stay on the breaking news. Stay on the breaking news.
So here's the breaking. So you have this shooter, and you have another shooter, right? So this shooter had 3
You watched this already? Yeah, great.
or so cell phones. The FBI's never gotten them opened.
Oh my God.
Wow.
The other shooter, 3 apps, they call them. And I believe they were foreign-based apps, from what I understand.
Oh, wow.
They haven't opened them. And they're
Okay, so he's trying to say that, like, foreign governments were trying to have him assassinated by this guy. Gotcha.
foreign-based. And, you know, you hear all about Iran, because I was rough with Iran, but I want to see Iran do great. I want to see
Yeah, worst shot ever because God intervened, but secret, highly trained assassin because of Iran.
Iran do great.
Yeah.
But I want to stop all the killing and all this. And
He's delusional? Well, clearly.
I was rough on Iran, and they supposedly have a hit on me. In fact, I think it takes great courage for you people to be interviewing me, because it could be now, you know.
Oh, it could be right now.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know that before we got in here.
No, if you would have known that, you might not have done this.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, this is a good way of me getting the interview to be short. Exactly. All of a sudden, he's going to say, you know, okay, that's it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
This is very... The amount of dick sucking going on in this is really beyond the pale. How can anyone watch this? Tough Scottish moms, COVID lab leak, Biden path to citizenship maybe. Russia. Pence didn't do what Trump asked him. Here, maybe that'll be all right.
What about Mike Pence? You got anything for Mike Pence?
Well, it's a shame because he and I had a very good relationship.
Hanging out somewhere.
He couldn't cross the line of doing what was right, in my opinion. Some people would disagree with that, but he had the right to go and put him before the legislatures and have them reassess, because they found out a lot of bad things.
You're still pushing this idea that the vice president can just rip up the election results and hand it to your opponent. He's still doing the same shit. If we actually had a country, this guy would be so in jail forever. Forever jail. He couldn't cross the line of killing democracy. Super jail, yeah. Like, my God.
Can we get a crash course in automatic fails in political campaigns? I feel like we are watching a breakdown of that. Also, hope those breaks get fixed, John Thomas.
Me too. Also, Thistles for Eyes, thank you for the $10 dono. I appreciate that. Look at us go. Again, if we get, what are we up to now? 17 more subs, Analog Horror.
And he had a lawyer that said he didn't have that right, but he did have that right.
No lawyer in America currently in any kind of reputable position agrees with that. There is no power given to the vice president by any document to summarily rip up the results of the Electoral College. That's not a thing. It's not a thing that exists.
And you know why we found out that that was true? Because
like his own legal team quit over this, with like one exception. Yeah, it's literally just like 2 lawyers in the entire country. And didn't John Eastman get disbarred? Yeah, literally, he's in the process of being disbarred right now. He can't even retain his law practice at the moment.
Changed the law after the election so that he couldn't do what I said he could do.
Yeah.
Okay? They changed the law so that a vice president could no longer do what I said he could do. So, in other words, I turned out to be right. But it's a shame. We had a very good relationship for 99.9% of the thing.
Well, the reason you're not sure on this, War Gamer Lena, is because you're trying to shoehorn a real event into a fictional story.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think he's a good man. I think he's a good man.
Good.
Unfortunately, I wish he would have had the stamina, maybe courage, maybe both, to go further. Because
again, it is incredible to me that he is still pushing this lie. There should be consequences for him as a candidate pushing for the overthrowing of democracy. He's doing it retroactively, but he's also trying to do it right now in real time as we speak.
Because we have to have honest elections in our country. And if we're afraid to challenge an election...
We need to have honest elections in our country, which is why I told Mike Pence to rip up the election results.
We're in big trouble, you know? They say if you...
Isn't this treason? What he is describing would mean the end of democracy in America.
They've challenged elections. The Democrats... Look at Maxine Waters. How dare them, you know?
You can legally challenge elections, but you know what you can't do? Can't have the vice president just throw out the election results. That's not a legal challenge to the election.
Challenge Stacey Abrams. Almost all of the Democrats challenge. But when we challenge, they say he's a threat to democracy. These are con artists. And they're very bad for our country. So I'm going to...
He's describing the method by which he would overthrow democracy. Like, his method of ending democracy. Like, he's like, oh, they call me a threat to democracy, as if he's not one. When he just described how he wanted the vice president to unilaterally overturn the election results on his orders.
I'm going to weed him out. We're going to weed him out. I'll do it in honor of you.
Okay, so tell me this. So tell me this situation. Okay, Barron is 18. He's handsome. He's tall. He's rich.
He's got the whole ball.
He's unleashed in New York City. Are you sure you want to reverse Roe v. Wade now?
I really hate these guys. I really hate these guys.
I mean, maybe give them a few years, you know.
Well, you know, it's up to the states now. It's up to the states because I believe in exceptions and all of the different things.
You've been voting.
Again, exceptions aren't real. We've talked about this a number of times. Exceptions in the case of rape and incest do not exist. Functionally cannot
Currently
exist.
doing duel with $1 or maybe $2 coin-sized, minimum, spiders. They've disappeared around my bed. Wish me luck, folded hands.
Oh, Jesus. Shamaniacal the Shamanite, thank you for the $5 super chat, but also, best of luck dealing with those spiders. That sounds terrifying.
Vocal about that.
I've been very
Would you try to influence?
I mean, I think a lot of people agree with me. You know, it was very, very strong, very, very tough. And Republicans were going to lose a lot of elections having to do with a lot of other things, too, because there are many issues. We have the border, we have this, we have wars, we have everything.
I don't know. Rape and incest exceptions don't really exist because it takes time to prove in a court of law that a rape occurred. Similar with incest. And usually it takes more time than it takes to give birth to a baby. So you cannot get an abortion until you prove that that happened if that exception exists. And in the case of life of the mother exceptions, doctors do not want to perform abortion procedures because it leaves them hugely liable in a court of law to be sued by the state and basically imprisoned or fined out of existence. Like, there's no, like, effectively, you have to be on death's doorstep as a woman, and even then, the doctors still might not feel safe enough to treat you. So these exceptions just do not exist. They are there to placate people who would otherwise be spurred to action.
And Roe v. Wade was always about getting it back to the states.
Yeah.
And then people started talking about the number of weeks and this, that, all these. But nobody wanted, no legal...
Roe v. Wade was never about throwing it back to the states. Immediately after Roe v. Wade, Republicans started talking about a national abortion ban. It was the greatest thing ever if you listened to Republicans and pro-lifers. It was the greatest day ever, and now they're trying to backtrack on it because it's a horrible look during an election cycle. But as soon as the election cycle is over, they're going to be pushing for it again.
Scholar, no Democrat, no Republican, liberal, conservative. Nobody wanted it in the federal government. It shouldn't be in the federal government. And the legal scholars, it was abhorrent. They didn't want it, and they didn't want it in the federal government.
Now,
and it was in the federal government.
I know you said, sorry.
What we did is, we moved it back to the states and a vote of the people. Mm-hmm. And now they're voting. Ohio voted a very liberal, Ohio, I won Ohio by a lot, but they voted, and it's up to them.
Yeah.
Okay, I do believe in exceptions. Life of the mother, rape, and incest.
Right.
If your daughter's raped by somebody, and let's say he's from a prison someplace and he's killed people and everything else, absolutely, you have to be able to do.
Yeah.
There are some people, and I think that group is smaller and smaller when they...
These exceptions aren't real. They're just there to make Republican voters feel better about it when they might otherwise stay home or even vote for Kamala Harris instead of Trump.
Realize what's going on. But
yeah, also, let's be real, normally people who do sexual assaults are known to the victims.
There are some people that under no circumstances can you do... I don't happen to agree. Ronald Reagan didn't agree. But what has happened is it's now back in the states where it belongs. And the states are moving along, and they're approving things. So, some conservative and some liberal.
There's some places. My wife and I had a baby through IVF, and you've been very supportive of IVF.
I was totally.
I really love that. You said that you guys were going to pay for it, and I would love to get the refund or whatever once that happens from the government.
But I actually said, we want.
You've said, like, Arizona, you think went a little bit too far. If you feel a state goes a little bit too far, will you use a little influence and say, hey, maybe...
Again, the only reason Donald Trump has said that Arizona went too far with its abortion ban is because it's an election year. The second he gets into office, he doesn't give a fuck. He'll let it happen.
And says we can make exceptions.
I would. Oh, no, I won't back it. I won't back it. I think I think
that's important for moderates to hear. That's why I want to give you the opportunity to say that.
No, some states say no weeks. But they're all changing because the people in the state won't stand for that. There are some states that say under no circumstance.
This is a great point, Paladin. Here's the problem with these laws. You need a specialized person in order to perform an abortion. It takes training and understanding, and if you make it so that only a very small amount of pregnancies qualify for abortion, you have people who might actually qualify for an abortion under the law but have no access to get one, and that is kind of the point. That's kind of the direction they're going. They're trying to make it seem like abortion's illegal, but there's still ways to get it, but they're closing all of the avenues you would go to actually get one. You know, it really is disgusting.
You have a daughter, and she's raped by the worst, most violent criminal in the country, and you cannot get, her You cannot.
You know, it's really weird how he's continuing to talk about the worst and most violent criminal in the country, because I'm pretty sure this guy has like 16 allegations of sexual assault against him.
Take
she has
her
to live with
and
that for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
she got to live with this. And, you know,
It is especially fucked up seeing a guy who was a close personal friend of Jeffrey Epstein, who went to Jeffrey Epstein's parties and flew on his planes and currently flies on his planes, and like it was found in civil court to be liable for rape, and who has a bunch of allegations of sexual assault against him, both by his former wives and people who are in his social circles. It is very infuriating to me to watch him talk about these hypothetical women who are raped, and oh man, think of how they have to live with that for the rest of their lives. And it's like, yeah, maybe you should be thinking about that, Donald Trump. Maybe you should be thinking about that in a cell somewhere for the rest of your miserable life, because it's so infuriating. This guy is disgusting in ways that are difficult to articulate. Like, not only is he someone who has no hesitation about wanting to destroy the American experiment of democracy that we have iterated on and improved upon for hundreds of years now, but he wants to take away future improvements to that system by becoming a dictator. And on top of that, he has the gall to actually sit there and talk about, oh, the unfortunate women who are the victims of sexual assaults, when he's personally sexually assaulted numerous women. You have to prove it in a way that prevents a Republican district attorney from not just delaying the abortion with motions until the baby is born, because all they really have to do is get a stop order that prevents you from having an abortion and keep it until the baby is born. Then they can just moot it. Exactly, Paladin. Exactly. See, the issue I have with what you're saying in chat, Wargamer Lena, is that by calling Trump demonic, like a literal, and I feel like you are using that in a literal sense, just given what you've said in the past in chat, I think that takes away some of his culpability for how evil he is. Because he's not a literal monster. He's not an exceptional individual. He's not like something no human being could possibly be. He's not like a supernatural entity. He's a human being. Human beings are capable of great acts of evil, and I think that we need to give him all the credit he is due on how evil and vile he is and repugnant to our very society itself. Like, this guy is... I mean, he is a threat to literally the American way of life. Yeah, even demons don't claim him. Yeah.
The father is a monster. He's from an insane asylum because he killed 50 people.
Yeah.
And you're going to have that baby?
Yeah.
And I can't
You have
believe...
to have empathy for that.
No, I can't believe that people are forced to do that.
Yes.
And you have a tiny, right now, it used to be a much bigger segment.
Yeah.
No, I think I've done a good job in a lot of ways because I've convinced people that you just can't do that.
No, that's important.
It's always been complex. It's always been tough. But we've come a long way with that issue. But just in a nutshell, bringing it back to the states and giving a vote.
Just as an FYI, guys. Just as an FYI, guys. He literally talked about on the campaign trail in 2016 about how he believes that women who seek abortions should be punished. Like, he is just a liar. Like, he has talked in the past extensively about how he is actually very, very much in favor of an abortion ban. This is him in 2018, pushing for a 20-week abortion ban on the federal level. This man is not telling you the truth when he hems and haws about, I would never sign a federal abortion ban. No. He absolutely would. He's said he would in the past, and I don't think that we should believe him now when he has very obvious reasons to lie. Here, let's finish up with one more segment from this.
Of you saying, just vote for me one time, you won't have to vote again. I don't believe this is true. I want to give you a chance to publicly say that's nonsense, just so you can
okay, I'm going to give you a chance to correct the record. When you said you wanted to destroy democracy, what you really meant was that you want to love and coddle democracy, right?
Speak any moderates out there.
So what I said, Christians tend to vote at a very low percentage for some reason. And so do gun owners. Would you believe it? The NRA, gun owners tend not to vote. Maybe it's a rebellious thing. I don't know.
Maybe.
He literally earlier in this video talked about overturning the Democratic election results of the current election cycle. And you now are asking him about, like, oh, in the future there would still be elections, and like, there might still be elections if he got elected. But if he's willing to overturn the results in this election and the last election, why would he not be willing to overturn the results of the next election? This isn't rocket science.
I said, look, our country's in big trouble, really big trouble with the border, with all the problems. We can solve the problem. But vote this one time. After that, we're not going to need it to. This is the most important election in the history of our country. Vote for this most important election. And then if you don't want to vote, we're going to have elections, but you don't have to vote because it's going to go along swimmingly.
Okay. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, that's how everybody.
That's how I interpreted it. You actually meant that things are going to go so great that no one will want to vote anymore. Which, even granting that is your interpretation, that you think things will go so well that people won't have to vote anymore, that's not a good thing either. Even if you just grant their argument that things are going well, it's not good that fewer people would turn out to vote. It's not good. That's bad, actually, because we live in a democracy and we want as many people represented as possible in our government. God.
I just want to give you the chance
That's how they interpreted it too.
Yes.
They know what you're
You got to
saying.
vote this time because we can't wait 4 years. Because you know what? In another 4 years, like we've just had with this clown that's a president, that's just a clown, a foolish man. Don't forget, he was a stupid man 25 years ago. He was never a smart man. He's run many times.
Now, the amount of filleting in this should be, this is honestly, this is true degeneracy right here. Like, we're watching like an ideological gangbang of Donald Trump, okay?
He was, isn't it amazing? He's run many times, and he gets it when he's in serious decline, okay? But anyway, so everybody knows that.
Okay.
And that's what I meant by it.
Yeah.
It means we got to fix it.
Yeah.
How long ago was this? This was like yesterday. That's how long ago this was.
And then it's going to work beautifully. It's going to run beautifully. We're going to have elections every 2 years, and every 4 years it's going to be great.
I just want to give you a chance to say that to
What was your second
And if I
point?
could ask one question. Everybody I speak to, every race, creed, whatever, they don't just like you, they love you. And I talk to people on both sides about your
Okay, nah, I can't handle one more thing. We're done. We're done with this. We're done with this. We're done with it. We're done with it. No more. It can only take so much. The laughing, light, kid glove handling when this guy to your face is telling you that he wants to end democracy and you're just laughing along, nodding along, is... I mean, I'm trying to decide if these people are just too dumb to understand what he is saying to them, or too ignorant of the political process to know the implications of what he's saying, or if they just really are. They all have boners for the end of democracy itself. Like it's only one of those options. Like there aren't really there isn't really that much wiggle room for anything else. But it is truly, this is the bottom of the barrel. We're gunning for the lowest common denominator when it comes to the voters here. And they just, I just don't think they understand that they are suckers. They're being taken for a ride by a con man who is going to destroy every single thing that they like and enjoy about the country. That's really all there is to it. He wants to control women's bodies. He's done it by force on his own multiple times throughout his life, and now he wants to take away the autonomy of and bodily integrity of every woman and trans man in America. He wants to remove trans and queer people from society. And you'll get conservatives who will tell you, oh, he doesn't want that. He actually wants only good things. But he only wants good things for the right kind of people. You know, the kind of people he describes as having good genes. You know, the white kind of people. This is a guy who didn't rent apartments to black families. This is the guy who didn't want brown people working on the floors of his casinos because he thought they looked unprofessional and lazy. Okay? This is a guy who throughout his entire life has hated any kind of person different from him in a very consistent set of ways. And now he wants to bring that to every corner of the nation, and he wants to do it while doing the largest deportation, the largest, I don't know, let's call it a racial purge in modern American history. And again, the comparisons are right there. If you know anything about history, they are right there in the open. I've said them on the show before, but this is exactly the kind of course that Hitler plotted when it came to undesirables in Germany. It's the same one. He's following the playbook. Just open up your history books, for fuck's sake. And get out there, volunteer to knock on doors, do phone banking. Please. We need everyone, all hands on deck now. We are like a month out.